Don't get yourself in trouble. Jesus. Don't get yourself in trouble. Don't get yourself in trouble. Don't get myself in trouble. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. This is probably the one where I'm going to get myself in trouble. Today's a crazy one. Thanks again for joining us live, because the whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. With the craziness we're about to get into, we really want you getting involved in the dialogue. So jump into the comments, because today we're talking first how fun and easy and silly. We had the social experiment of the portal, where you could see live streamed a portal between Dublin, Ireland, and New York, America. And let's just say human nature is human nature. And secondly, we're going to get to Mumford and Sons takes on a debate with Nancy Pelosi. Man, you just got to love watching our hardworking people represent us. And finally, we wrap it up with Chiefs kicker and one of the greatest fantasy football picks you could grab. Harrison Butker bashes Pride Month and tells women to stay in the kitchen. That all being said, I can't do it without my good friend and my co-host, David Cunningham. How are we doing, David?
Hey, how are we doing, good people of the internet? It's good to be here. We got a jam-packed show here tonight, full of debate, intrigue. I think we're going to go for several hours on these topics. We got some dense topics. It's like the brownie ate a couple days ago. Just dense, full of fudge. I'm excited here, though. We got the peanut gallery, and you know what? I was wondering. When I came here this morning or this afternoon, Gurgat, I was looking for an El Camino because our buddy behind the keyboard is starting to grow a mullet.
What's up, people? B Rizzle my shizzle here on TikTok and BC Mall on Instagram 3s. And I think we're about ready to get this show crack-a-lackin'.
I just realized, Brian, me and Brian are really trying to promote these episodes. And a thing we keep falling into is YouTube won't let us promote it if it's an election ad video. It's like, we're doing none of that. But really, if you just say any of these people's names, it's going to be flagged as an election ad because they all suck. And you can't have anything good to say about them. So if you're talking about them, then clearly we need to suppress it. So to me, in this dialogue about free speech, I just want to point out, Brian, I don't think this episode's going to be the one for us. Starting, though, we can have a good clip. This segment might save us. No election talk here, but I just said the word, so we're probably damned. But we don't live in 1984. We're talking about the New York portal to Dublin. Now, Brian, if you could pull up the picture, it's this big, giant screen, and it's giving a live feed directly to New York and Dublin. So again, it was fun. And if I have some articles here, and of course, mainly what it talks about is, for the most part, the majority of interactions were positive. They were happy. They were fun. People waving, exchanging. It's literally live, real time. So it's cool. We're waking up for breakfast. They're getting and winding down their night. You got people with drinks and they're partying at night, and we're just starting our day, and then it flips. But then also human nature piles in real quick. So what do you start experiencing? You see you flipping people off, cussing. The biggest one was Ireland was holding pictures of 9/11 and putting it up to the screen, and that was getting some inflammatory reactions. But of course, like all human nature, it takes one to ruin it for everybody. And the straw that broke the camel's back was this kind, nice lady giving the people of Ireland a good old look of what she's got cooking. So it took one big old flash to Ireland for them to be like, yeah, we get too much freedom over there. You can't.
No flash photography at the portal.
I mean, you got to admit, this is a pretty cool technology. If you think about it, like in the macroscopic, we used to like chisel into stones and throw pigeons at each other to communicate. Like it is really cool that there's cables the size of like a semi truck going through the ocean, and we are getting a live feed of people instantly on the other side of the world. So instantaneous that you could hold a dialogue to some respect and it not be delayed or lagged. It's literally live. That's a cool technology. Yep. At the same time, though, it's just so funny that this is what it very quickly becomes.
Yep. It once the TikTok started rolling around on this one, you could just tell people are, all right, how much can I shock the other side to go viral? And then it just became, what can I do to irritate the other side of people to be viral on TikTok? And then she just, I guess, took the winning crown, or well, I guess two. She's the double crown.
Battle of the OnlyFans.
Yeah, but that's it too. Like, anyway, so
am I the only one that wants to see the Dublin view?
The Dublin view?
Yeah.
Why
If she flashed from the New York side, I want to see the Dublin side.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure someone recorded
catch a flight, not feelings. But I want to get us to the peanut gallery in the wing there that's joining us to get their perspective on the craziness. First, let's bring in our good friend from Just Another Day TV, Ricardo Wright. How we doing, my good friend?
I like this idea, man. I like it. Once they get AI integrated with it, where it can censor people live, it would be great. I like it.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Short, sweet. But we can't do it without our good friend Silent Destroyer. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
What's up, everybody? Thank you for having me.
Please.
I think the idea sounds good on paper, but then in reality, the humanity and just like the freedomness, I guess, of America just takes over, you know. And you got to get people to start fucking cussing people out and start flashing people. Like, it was expected. It was only a matter of of when, not if, you know.
And you know what it reminds me of? Have you ever familiarized yourself with the story surrounding Shia LaBeouf's like "You Can't Stop Us" cam? So when Trump got elected, he had that live feed. Yeah, that's it. You will not divide us. You will not divide us.
Yeah, with the
so
flag, yeah.
he's chanting this. It's this artistic piece where people will come and, you know, stand for their protest, and you will not divide us, and Trump will not divide us. And it was a live recording. So first, people were messing with it. They're doing exactly what you see
Dancing
human
around,
nature become. Exactly.
Off, you know.
And so we couldn't have that live feed going 24/7. So we very quickly changed it to a live feed video of the flag.
Yep.
Well, what's so amazing about the human hive and what makes them so good at what they do is they were able to triangulate from the stars above the flag.
Like plane patterns too.
Everything. And they were able to literally triangulate and find that flag and steal it. And at that point, they just threw in the towel.
Well, no, it went one level deeper.
Oh,
They put the flag in a house, and then
Really?
just had it. Yep. And then they thought, all right, we'll put the blinds down. There's no stars. There's no, there's no sky, no airplanes, and they were still able to find it based on the sun up, sun down. And then what they did, they were able to kind of figure out based on, on the sunset and the sunrise, because it was that window was actually, I think it was facing towards the sunset. Someone goes out in a car and think it might be in this neighborhood, just based on what the interior of the house looked like, honking the horn. And then people are in line like, yep, oh, that's you. And then they found the house and then kept shining like spotlights or something on the house.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I love that. But again, just like don't F with cats.
Yep.
Like the mastery of the human hive is fascinating, but also quite degenerate. Like very quickly, I mean, don't make us take you over. I mean, we could do that. We could, while you're flashing like the biggest tragedy. So the back and forth was they're flashing 9/11 at us. So we start flashing the potato famine. Like, remember the time the British starved your whole country to death? It's like, we don't need to like degenerate into that.
No.
And I don't know. Let's pose a question.
Okay.
Is there a world like you have these liberal types, the Democrat types that dream of the perfect utopia where one day no one will ever say a bad word. I will never be uncomfortable. Everything is marshmallows and pillows. Do you think there may be a day where we can separate from these types of instincts, or will this always be a part of the animal that is human?
I always think there's got to be an incentive to be outlandish. When you take away that incentive, you're obviously just like, I don't want to show my I don't want to show my family jewels in front of Ireland because no one cares. It's not going to be fun.
Doug cares. He's trying to catch a flight.
And he is. He's actually left the studio right now. But the only way you get rid of that is you just have like total tyranny. So yes, you can. It's not a world I want to live in. It sucks that we have the, as you said, the human hive mind is capable of such great things. We are able to find all these wonderful stuff, put people in jail, but also at the same time, we're also, God, we can't just get away from our animalistic desires and just want to shock people, show things, just harass them. Who doesn't like a good old man? We're going to harass you for a little bit. You're coming in here. We're going to you. It's a fun back and forth. And I think most of this is in good fun. Yeah. Maybe a couple people took it a little bit too far, but even if you looked at the 9/11, if you looked at the 9/11 TikTok, that's funny. That's right. Really funny.
It is. Like what's the thing you could say to New York to like just antagonize them?
It's just sorry, 9/11.
But also how funny is it that this literally parallels like Omegle or chat roulette?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, good person, fun conversation, guy jerking off. Yep. You're like, and that's human nature. Yeah. And that's the people. Leave it to the people.
Now, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What two cities do you think would be the most
great question. Hold on. I want to go both ways. We're going to go around the ring. So, guys in the wing, get ready. All right. So, this is a twofold question.
Yep.
First, what would be the two cities that would be the worst to tap in to another country? Like the cruelest, the worst. And who would give us the best representation? Like what cities would be the best? All right. So if I had to go first, I'd love to see like Philly, dog.
That's what was on my mind.
Let them tap into the world stage. Yeah. I'm sure they would do great. And I think we'd have somebody die in Chicago. I guarantee you'd have a dead guy real quick in front of the camera. So I'm going to go with the two worst would be Philly and Chicago. But there's probably more creative ones. And the two best, that's like actually difficult. I would want an island city like Tampa. Like not Tampa. Tampa's the worst of Florida. The rich people like Sarasota. Go somewhere like that. Right?
All right.
Yeah, like a gated community.
Yes. And I don't know. You definitely got to do good weather. Like you don't want Colorado. I'll go somewhere in Colorado. Denver. I think I could be happy with Denver.
Yeah.
Don't put it in the airport because there's aliens there. But if you go somewhere else in Denver, I think you get some good people. I don't know. What do you think?
So for two worst, I would probably like if I were to put a portal one spot and the other spot to really just antagonize.
You can't do that. We're not there yet.
Oh, we're not there. Okay.
Don't start talking about the other side.
All right.
Because that's a whole nother aspect. Cook on that.
So the two worst cities that you could showcase here, probably Atlanta.
You're right.
Would be
I didn't even think of that.
High on my list. Atlanta. And then I will agree with you, but I'm going to go one step a little further. I'll go Baltimore. I'll go Atlanta and Baltimore. Two good cities. Even though I think Philly, I don't want to copy you, but damn, Philly's a good one.
Philly was a good one.
They would
dude, let me bring it back. I was in law school in Harrisburg when the first year the Patriots and the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. The Eagles had yet to win a Super Bowl. we went to Philly for the game. Now, I watched so many fans not wearing a Philly jersey get just mugged, just straight up ass beaten. The Browns went 0-16. So I had people that were like, I would beat your ass, but either you're just trolling everybody or I feel bad for you. Either way, I don't want to beat your ass. And I was watching everybody get their ass beat. So I'm telling you, from watching couches burn. Okay, another great story. We pull up. The friend he knows, he went to school there at Temple. He goes, okay, my friend wants me to park out front of his house. His friend goes, park out front of my house. It's going to be fine. No problem at all. And my friend's just like, I just don't believe you. So I'm going to go to the parking garage. And he was reluctant to pay the like $40, but like, you know what? I'd rather be in a parking garage. The game goes by. I remember watching two girls walking down the center of the street with a light post. They're just, hey, just hiking down the street with a light post. And they're like, they didn't even know who was playing 4 hours ago, but they're just with everybody else tearing down the city. So we get back to the place. And not only is there burning couches just everywhere, but sitting out in the buddy's like third floor, looking out over the street, all of the cars lining the street out front of him. Dude, just park there. It's not a problem. You're crazy. It's going to be the street over. Yeah. All of the cars parked there literally looked like elephants. They were flattened.
Oh.
The cars were flattened as if elephants trampled them. It was so then I'm watching a guy try to leave because his car's in the crush zone. And so he's literally driving out like this. His whole body's out the car as he's trying to drive his flattened car. It's like, dude, your car's cooked. I don't know where you're trying to take it. What are you trying to do? It's over. So these are the people we're going to put a camera in front of? I don't know. That's all I'm saying. The place is crazy.
Philly's good. That'd be an all-timer.
That's an all-timer. All right, let's get to the guys in the wing. Let's start with Ricky. Ricky, what are your thoughts? Two best, two worst.
For the worst, I would do like Skid Row and like the favelas of like Brazil. For the worst, that's what I would want to see.
Brazil wouldn't be bad.
And for the best, I would want to see.
Wait, you just picked another country. What?
Oh yeah, you just said Brazil.
Yeah, I thought it was like New York and Ireland. So real.
City.
Like the favelas.
Pick a city in America that would be the worst.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
Lincoln.
Okay,
So,
so-
we're talking America?
For now.
Just
Lincoln
America?
too, yes.
Okay. All right then.
Siri's got something to say.
She's got something to say.
The favelas. No, I mean Skid Row and shit.
Where's
What
Skid Row?
projects would I go?
LA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good
Where would
choice.
Let's go like some hood in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville wouldn't be a bad one.
You know? So I'll go
I
with
just
that.
love
The best. So we can't go with no
blanket.
country.
I just love the blanket not picking a city, just find the hoodiest hood in Jacksonville and put it there. Like, you would not even put a name on it.
You're not
Just
wrong. You're not
find
wrong.
that place and put it there.
Yeah,
All right,
somewhere in
we're gonna
Jacksonville.
double back, Ricky, because I
But
think
wait,
yes.
we're not doing countries.
No, I'm going to double back to you. I'm going to double back.
We'll get there.
Because I
get
think
ready
the
for
other
this
side of the dynamic changes this entirely. So let's get to Silent Destroyer. What are your two best, two worst cities in America to tap into?
Two worst, I would say Kensington Market, Philly, Newark, New Jersey. And
Yeah,
best-
Jersey. I didn't think of that one.
It's a good
two
one.
best, I would have to say Portland, Oregon, and Boston, Massachusetts.
I mean,
Ooh. I could go the opposite on Boston.
Boston would be cruel.
Boston.
That'd be like tapping into Ireland.
Yeah.
And I also think Portland would be like Portlandia. It'd be fun and safe
fun.
for
I
the
think
longest
It'd be very
until
fun,
like
yeah.
a fifth grade public school teacher starts just shoving dillies places. And it's like,
Yeah.
no one signed up for that.
Can be degenerate real quick. Probably another good one. Just any spot in Hawaii.
Yo!
Especially if it's on the
you
beach.
stole mine.
Just
That was
any-
gonna
just
be my
anywhere.
good
Good
one.
one.
Pick a
That's
city,
Oh.
Honolulu, Oahu, doesn't matter.
Well, before you steal all of Doug's dialogue, Doug, two best, two worst.
Well, Well, I only have one best, one worst because I have some great international ones because that's what I thought we were talking about.
No,
But
We'll get there.
Honolulu and Seattle, I think, would be the best because I like cross the ocean from each other too. I think it'd be kind of cool. Worst, I was thinking Gary, Indiana, and
What makes you pick that?
This is boring.
because Gary, Indiana is the worst city in America, so it'd probably be the worst place to have a
boring.
It's
portal
the worst
to.
city in America. Why?
I don't know. Apparently, people say
A
it's
lot
not
of
safe.
murders.
Oh,
I don't
that'd
know
be a
about
good
that.
place to put it.
And then
A bad place.
I put to go along with the Florida. I said Pensacola because, like, hey, well, you know,
Pensacola would be a good
is
one.
there
yeah.
anything good in
You
Florida?
get a little rural Florida
No,
action.
longboat, Doug. Go to longboat. It's just a bunch of old people,
yeah,
rich
but
old
at
people.
least they're not going around. Well, would that really be the worst thing to see?
No,
They're
the
probably-
best. That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't harm a fly.
Oh,
They'd be
yeah.
like, hello,
But I like the whole cross
Hmm.
the ocean view, Honolulu and Seattle. I think that's kind of the best because it's fun. It's good. You know?
Exactly.
Hey, you can see across the ocean.
All right,
That's why it's the best.
Brian. It is.
Is Chaz Zone still a thing?
Oh, you mean the country inside our country?
Yeah, that country.
Oh.
That one for
the
the worst.
insurrection that the media peddled. Oh,
And the
there
best.
goes the election ad. Even on this, this we
Yeah.
can't do this video either.
And
Yes.
and best would be Austin, Texas.
I could, yes. That's
I don't
good.
know.
And
I
maybe
like that one.
Nashville. I don't know.
That Silent Destroyer better sign off on that one. That's
Oh,
like
Nashville's
that's like
a good one,
the gay
Brian.
people of Portlandia with a gun. Like they're like the tough Portlandians.
Nashville would be sick. There'd be a lot of live music there.
Okay,
that's for
Nashville,
sure.
but he said
I said Austin
Austin.
and
No,
Nashville.
Nashville
Austin
would
and
be
Nashville.
popping.
That's what
Nashville-
I said.
yeah,
Nashville's
I
a
think
good
Nashville
one.
is
As
Sure.
long as Morgan Wallen can keep his hand in his pockets, I think it's a pretty safe spot. That's a
I
safe
think
call.
Nashville will be cool.
No throwing
Yeah.
chairs off of balconies or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get a little raunchy at times, but I think for the most part, you're gonna get some interesting.
Oh, it would be drunk people, but like also, why does Silent Destroyer? Why is he right? And Brian for throwing that one out there. Why is this right? Because if we only show Nashville girls, we will walk away victorious, the hottest fucking country. If we just go, this is it. This is us. And it's just a whole bunch of like dime bridesmaids in cowboy boots. They're going to be like, oh my God, them cowboys over there in America. They're going to be singing our songs real quick. They're going to delete that 9/11 picture as fast as they can and hop on a plane and hope it actually lands.
You'll
All
push
right.
never forget.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's bring this full circle. The guys were chomping at the bit because what makes this even more interesting and what I think we can have even more fun with is like, why Dublin? Why a bunch of starving drunks? Like, they're what have they contributed? I present to you the world stage. There are those that brought us electricity, vehicles. The Germans were the greatest inventors and innovators for the longest, and China is quickly taking the baton in the present life. What has Ireland given us? What have they ever given us?
They're a
Guinness.
big tech
I
capital.
don't even drink it. You gave me a Guinness, I'd pour it out. Ha, ha, ha. So I want to inquire two best, two worst. Best as in most. Okay. What would be the most interesting, like in a positive way? Who would you like to connect with? But then also, who would be the most wild? Like, I think if you went to Mexico City, Mexico, oh my gosh, you would see, like, I think that would be a fun one to tap into. I think a street in Thailand with just a whole bunch of Thai boys and crazy people.
That'd be a good one.
Those are the two that I think would be the best as in most fascinating. I would love to connect with them. But the two that would just be interesting or good or fruitful. I'm looking at the map. I'm gonna show David real quick. I'm trying to peruse the moss. I think Australia would be like us. So we'll get a little shit thrown our way, but it also will be mostly fun and good people. But I also think I want you to picture this. All right, buckle up.
Ooh.
This is the ride. I want you to picture a team of 12 Silicon Valley nerds because this was their idea. and they hop in and have all of this. I mean, Brian, real quick, can you, while I'm saying this, pull up the picture real quick of this portal? Because I want you to picture the guys walking in with this portal. Okay, so there's all these metal pieces, a giant LED screen, the mechanics within it, and obviously all your computer work to set it up. And they go on a voyage, and they head to Africa, and they just drop land in the middle of a tribe, and they're just like, no, wait. And they're like, oh, and he's like, no. And they're trying to build it, and they're like, no, it'll make sense when we're done. When we're done, just let us fit. And they're like, what are these? What the white man come, and what did he bring? He brings the portal, giant TV of God. And you're like, no, just let us fit. And then it connects to Boston or like Portland. And they're just like, what is this life? Not only are they going to think we're aliens, but like, I think that'd be hilarious. Just watching them like poke the camera and just be totally, I'm not saying just like your average tribe, like go to the most deserted, like isolated area and be like, hello, first let me introduce myself. I'm another human and I look very different. And then secondly, let me build this giant space portal in the middle. I think that would be a thrill.
And then to top it all off, have a drone show right in front of them.
Dude,
they wouldn't know what to. They wouldn't know what to think.
Alex, I have a location in Africa on my list here too.
Boom. All right, hit us with it. If you're going foreign.
So if I'm going to go for interesting places that probably going to take this seriously, I think Antarctica would be a good one. You see,
are we talking serious? Oh.
It'd be
serious and fun.
Yeah, serious.
Come on,
fun,
dog.
Yeah, Antarctica would probably take it seriously, and I think like Seoul or Tokyo, those two would probably take it pretty seriously as well. And you get a lot of kind of interesting characters that are well behaved.
I don't know.
Now,
the Koreans and the Japanese don't really like each other.
Well, you wouldn't connect them together. You would just have like New York City and Tokyo, and then they'd look at each other. Now, here'd be a wild one. So you ever seen like the videos of like the Saudis just going wild on like cars and stuff? Where they just like do wild shit.
Oh,
I'd put one there, but on the other side of it would be like South Beach, Miami.
Put one in the mall or the wall, the line.
Yeah, and then it would be, so they would just see a bunch of bikini-clad women just walking around. They wouldn't know how to behave.
You just threw like a keg of powder on a fire. So you want to put Miami Beach connected to a Muslim country where they all wear bed sheets.
Yeah, somewhere like Dubai, Saudi Arabia.
My God.
It doesn't matter.
Wait, real quick, I want to tell a story. When we were in Dubai, there was my professor's room, and he was like, that cool young professor. He's the cool guy. Well, sometimes being too cool to the younger, we had like sophomores with us, being too cool with the younger guys sometimes can bite you in the ass. So these kids thought it was funny. They found somebody in an alley passing out cards for hookers.
Oh.
And so they took a whole bunch of these cards that like had,
Arabic
women dressed
professionals.
Yes, professionals, dressed a little provocatively, not nude, but
in their
close.
work attire.
And again, this is in a Sharia law Muslim country where like when we had to go places, a lot of the girls in our tour group or our class project had to wear hijabs and everything else. So anyway, they took the cards and put them all around, like wedged them around the door of our professor's door to be funny. Well, a mom, like a Muslim woman walking through the hallway, saw the door, reported them. The professor got called in. They literally had to go to, what's the headquarters for our country in a foreign country?
Embassy?
They literally had to go to the embassy and were up to potentially have their passport taken.
The professor.
Because the professor was it was these kids. Like the professor was able
to. Kids on camera. And
exactly. Was it. They literally played to them the video camera in the hotel of them doing it. It was like the Oscar Warmir from North Korea. Like that whole deal.
Ooh.
They literally played the video to him. It was like,
wasn't it Otto?
Otto Warmir, yes. Yeah. So I'm just saying that this is so much more extreme than David's like politely playing with. Like they will take away your passport and you're gonna just have some like Miami broad like, hey, arriba. You know, this is also the same place where they made spring break illegal now because it's gotten so off the chain, to put it lightly.
You just go to Fort Lauderdale because they don't care, and it's 20 minutes north.
That's true. That's
Fort
travel tip
Lauderdale
from
was
Doug.
That's a
bumping.
travel tip from Doug.
Fort Lauderdale was busy this year.
It's true. It's true. Let's get it to Ricky. Now let's take it out of the domestic, take it internationally. What are your thoughts? Oh, we can't hear you.
If you say Brazil, I'm gonna freak.
Muted.
My fault. For the
There
best,
we
right?
go.
We're going for the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Best.
Okay, so I will go with Vegas
All right.
with like I put in Jamaica like Ochi in the grill on the sunset, like Rick's Cafe or
Hey.
something like that.
All right. All right.
I can dig it.
So yeah,
I can dig
so
it.
that would
I
be
can
the
dig it.
two.
All right.
Yeah, I like to see those.
Let's
two.
see. I agree. That'd be a good one. Let's see, taking us to a positive space. But let's get it to Silent Destroyer. Silent Destroyer, what are your thoughts internationally, connecting, good places, bad places? What are your thoughts?
I would go Damascus, Syria, oldest city in the world. For interesting,
Okay.
I would connect that to probably New York. I think that'd be fun. I think that.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
All right.
like
Especially
old,
now.
old city, like you know, like the oldest city in the world, tens of thousands of years, to like one of the coolest, most modern cities in North America. So that would be very interesting.
All right.
That really would.
Okay.
It really would. All right, Dougie Fresh.
Lay
Take
it
us
on
internationally. Where do you want this portal connected?
So good. I was thinking Miami, Cancun, kind of going with the party vibes. They'd be able
Yeah,
to party
that
with
would
each other,
be
different
such,
time
like-
zones,
See,
different
egg each other
time
on the
zones.
party. That would be fun.
That'd
be a lot of fun.
simple fun. I applaud you, Doug, with the winning answer. What is the most simple, fun, good choice?
And they're hours
That's it.
apart. It'd be a never-ending party.
Nobody's trying to like get the one over with a 9/11 picture or like the whatever's gonna make the thing burn. That's just people
It'll just
having
be
a good
party.
time.
Exactly.
Get a bunch of
So
dance
for the
circles.
worst, I had two thoughts here. Okay, so work with
All right.
me here. I think it'd be fun to have a Pyongyang, North Korea, the capital, and a Seoul,
Pyongyang.
Pyongyang, whatever, and Seoul,
Whatever.
and Seoul,
Okay, Kim.
and Seoul, South Korea. That would be a lot of fun to see.
Brother.
But that's why it's under the worst. But then my actual worst, my actual worst though would be Pyongyang, North Korea,
Pyongyang.
Pyongyang, whatever you want to say,
Okay.
and Mogadishu, Somalia. I think that'd be just the worst two countries to have connected.
How bad's it over there? Bad? Yeah, it's bad over here.
Yeah.
I want you to picture this. Pyongyang, North Korea, connected with whatever he said, South Korea. I missed that.
Seoul.
Seoul, okay,
The
Seoul. So,
capitals,
all right.
the two
So
capitals.
go with Seoul and Pyongyang. They're connected. And then what do you get from the feed of North Korea but just little Kim running with this giant hammer and he's just like, yeah, because he just can't afford for his people to be like, help, please help. We should not laugh at that. Please, Brian.
But they were good ideas though.
Don't laugh at that. It's not funny. It's not funny.
You know, you guys went all around the world and I am not as well versed, but I'm gonna go with like the Himalayas and somewhere that's also kind of remote in the mountains.
Another good one.
The Rockies
Tibet?
and
Yeah,
Everest.
You have to
Yeah.
you have to climb up there to see the portal.
I would love to put it
That'd be
on
pretty cool.
Everest. So one, it takes that team of 12 nerds from Silicon Valley to carry this thing to the top of Everest. But then just like have a person frozen on the edge of death, just like
Send help.
no, what you need to do is like the top of Everest and like a location on the equator. So there's just this like half naked sweating guy. And this dude just bundled to the nth degree with like
see,
his
that's where-
snot frozen down his face, just like.
But see, I think Antarctica would be a better one then because you're more likely to actually have people or animals than Mount Everest, and it's both going to be cold.
That's
Just
a
saying.
fun thought, Doug, but all the countries of the world had to get together and decide that no one's allowed to tourist tour Antarctica.
Exactly
So
why the portal would be so perfect then.
there'd be no one there. It'd just be a penguin. And then the
I would
second they
love to
see
see
Who
me,
would want to see some tank?
I'm going to get arrested. They'll be like, hey, we got a person there. Get him. And then I don't come home.
Get 'em.
I get abducted by aliens. All right. We've gone off the deep end. Whole bunch of rapping thoughts. I think this is a perfect time to transition to, if we haven't upset you yet, this is going to do it. So now we have Mumford and Sons debates Nancy Pelosi. Now, I got to do Mumford and Sons the benefit here. Mumford and his sons actually wasn't involved here. It's this poor gentleman, Marshall or Winston Marshall. So Winston Marshall was a band member of Mumford and Sons, and a sad part to his story is that Winston Marshall has said that he had to quit Mumford and Sons to spare his bandmates from abuse after he endorsed a book by conservative journalist Andrew No. So he exclaims how his bandmates were dragged under the bus by the internet mob after he started to exclaim his views. And he says, they went for my friends, and that's not fair on them because they've done nothing. So he removed himself from the band so he could further support his beliefs and stand against this force that he sees to be a problem. So we have this debate. There's this debate it's called Oxford Speaks, and it's through the Oxford Diplomatic Society. And there was this debate that was had. This would have been in Oxford. And the whole premise of the debate was populism is a threat to democracy. Real quick, Brian, for this part, if you could bring me I'm going to take the mouse because there's a lot of dense pieces to this. Thank you, my friend. All right. So first, we're just going to start with Nancy Pelosi over here. Okay. We tried. Kick it to the middle view because I want David in on here too. We tried, all of us. Brian was here. Doug came in late. He missed it. But the three of us tried to listen to Nancy Pelosi's piece.
Yeah. It was
And you can help corroborate this.
No, it's true. We sat there and really, really gave it a good listen. The whole unedited. Oh boy.
It was 14 minutes of I'm
just
telling
rambling. Go.
Literally nothing. I want you to watch it to corroborate, to further build faith and trust in the Rethink Tank. Like, I'm not trying to dissuade you. You should watch it so you could see the powerful, most rich people representing you. It's sad that I'm watching this like decrepit creeper of the crypt, and I'm just excited by the fact that she doesn't sound dead like the president. Like, if you were to compare her to like Vivek, it's Vivek because it rhymes with cake. He rhymed it in a rap like Eminem. If she were to speak next to Vivek Ramaswamy, she very quickly would be dwarfed and seen to be incompetent. But it's sad that we have such old, decrepit people representing us that when you listen to her speak, you're like, oh my gosh, she actually doesn't sound that bad because we're so used to
the bar is
that
set
bad.
so low. And that's part of the Joe Biden effect. It's like, well,
yes, that's what I'm
if
getting
they're
at. Yes.
old and they're just not like stumbling over their words, all right, it's fine. Let them speak. Let them say whatever. We can just pull up clips of them being a bit more rambunctious with their speeches when they're younger, and then it's all fine and dandy, I guess. But I think to go up to your point, to attend Oxford, to attend a speech, or to do this debate, that's the performance. That's what she decided to go with. Wild. It's like you do this for a living. You're supposed to go into the Hall of Congress and debate your thoughts and ideas about bills and why you should be doing this, that, and the other. You're a leader of a party. And to just speak in not even in circles, just go nowhere. Like what's the point? Where are we going? I need a treasure map just to figure out where she's trying to go. I was about ready to call an Uber. It's like, all right, well, I think he'll take me there.
No, and what's even more interesting, David, is like if you actually wanted to score this like it was a real debate, like if you wanted to take
Oh
this
my
serious,
God.
like it wasn't a performance and you actually wanted to dissect it, what is the premise that we're actually trying to dissect? Populism is a threat to democracy. Nancy Pelosi supports the thesis that populism is a threat to democracy. And our gentleman, Winston Marshall, he is against this premise. And it wasn't just the two of them. There was a selection of like 4 speakers on both sides. But for you to even answer the question, is populism a threat to democracy? How do you even first take that step without defining what populism is?
Yeah.
And there are moments where she goes, let me tell you what populism is. This is definitions. And then she just ramble on about right-wing conservatives and how they're going to tear apart our country. Never a definition given. So I want to first emphasize how the Democrat premise, because it literally lies on a foundation of nothing. Like it's just smoke and mirrors. When you actually parse it apart and try to grab the hologram, you quickly realize there's nothing there. They are all smoke and mirrors. So when in Nancy Pelosi's piece, she says that these people that champion the populist beliefs take advantage of people who have legitimate economic concerns. Like who? I don't know, people that are shorting the stocks and taking insider trading from their $250,000 salary they take a year. She also says, and this was the most fascinating to me because it was just this was so Joe Biden-esque.
Come on, man.
So much has happened since your 200-year-ago version about Andrew Jackson and all that. And then she just doesn't even finish the thought. It just stops and ends there. It's like, what are you trying to say? And truthfully, this whole anti-populist position revolves around this disdain for the old interpretation of the Constitution, the old spirit of what this country is. Kind of like the new founders of America. I think I've seen that in a movie once or twice. It's the new founding fathers of America. Just hand it over to the dead people that are representing you. So let's get here quickly. This is just a snippet from all of the great insight our babbling idiot had to give us and represent us on a national stage.
These poor souls who are looking for some answers. We've given them to them, but they're blocked by some of their views on guns. They have the 3 Gs, guns, gays, God. That would be a woman's right to choose. And the cultural
You should mess that up.
All right. So
I think you messed it up. I don't think Republicans have gays.
We're immediately.
Or are you admitting
so?
Something?
So I think what she's trying to say, I think obviously is, well, Republicans only worried about guns, gays, and God. 2 of them they care about. 1 of them they hate. And then
she said all they got.
And then she like tacks on right at the end. Oh, and women's right to choose. So well, no. You can't just do the 3 Gs and then just put whatever else. I would just use that all the time.
And they hate people and babies.
Yep.
It's like okay. And they take ice cream from children. All right, let's just finish.
Cloud some of their reception of an argument that really is in their interest.
So again, here's the biggest snippets. So another thing, I wanted to there's a puff piece by NBC, and I'm hoping, hey, let the people that are professionally in the business of making the idiots make sense, maybe they'll give us something. No, it was just an entire article of also nothing. So what do we walk away from the positive side? Do we get a definition of what populism is, what they're trying to fight against, what the threat to democracy is? No, they don't even provide that. But then they just go on to spout out, she expresses this sentiment that today in Oxford, when she argued that opposing Trump's potential reelection was a matter of absolute total urgency and a matter of life and death as a risk to civilization. So it's just to further push their agenda, inflame the emotions. But what does that give me of what populism is? What's the threat to democracy? Oh, Donald Trump. Oh, we don't like populism when we don't like what the majority of people want or think. So again, she just peppers the trigger words, right? We're fighting against Nazis, Confederate flags. It has to stop. It has to end. And she keeps referring to this continued violence as if it isn't their media and their mechanisms in place that are pushing this and peddling it. So I've said a lot. While I said there were 4 other speakers, the person that follows immediately after Nancy Pelosi is this Marshall Winston. I want to get to what he said because I favored it the most.
Pull it up.
All right, we'll go to that first. We'll go to that
up.
first before we flip it to the gang. So this Nancy Pelosi gives her speech of a whole bunch of nothingness and agenda pushing propaganda.
Yeah.
But this is what follows as a direct response. We'll just kind of click through it.
Populism is not a threat to democracy. Populism is democracy.
Let that sit with you for a second. Populism is democracy.
I now look.
Do you want to be represented by popular vote, or are we going to say we want the popular vote insofar as only when it peddles my agenda? Oh.
Oh. Uh-oh.
So they just called him on. I kind of skipped ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, words have a tendency to change meaning. When I was a boy, woman meant someone who didn't have a cock. Populism has become a word used synonymously with racist. We've heard ethno-nationalist, with bigot, with hillbilly, redneck, with deplorables. Elites use it to show their contempt for ordinary people. This is a recent change. Not long ago, Barack Obama, while still president at the North America's Leaders Summit in June 2016, he took umbrage with the notion that Trump be called a populist. How could Trump be called a populist? He doesn't care about working people. If anything, Obama argued he was the populist.
Huh.
If anything, Obama argued Bernie was the populist. It was Bernie who'd spent 5 decades fighting for working people. But Trump.
I mean, at the end of the day, you want to ask yourself, what's the goal here? Do you want to represent the people, or do you just want to win at all cost?
Yeah.
What are you trying to admit to us?
Something curious happens. If you watch Obama's speeches after that point, more and more recently, he uses the word populist interchangeably with strongman, with authoritarian. The word changes meaning. It becomes a negative, a pejorative, a slur. To me, populism is not a dirty word. Since the 2008 crash, and specifically the $1 trillion Wall Street bailout, we are in the populist age. And for good reason. The elites have failed. Let me address some common fallacies, some of which have been made tonight. If the motion was that demagoguery was a threat to democracy, I would be on that side of the House. If the motion was that political violence was a threat to democracy, I'd be on that side of the House. January 6th has been mentioned. A dark day for America indeed. And I'm sure Congresswoman Pelosi will agree.
And let's not pretend it wasn't our government that put it on.
That the entire month of June 2020, when the federal courthouse in Portland, Oregon was under siege and under insurrection by radical progressives, those too were dark days for America.
When someone sat in Nancy Pelosi's seat.
Yes. There is
Where
no
is she?
equivalent.
Dark days
there.
for America.
So that, yes.
So you don't agree? And it's fine, you don't agree, that's fine.
Oh.
Not like what happened on January 6th, which was an insurrection.
So for those that you can't hear, you are not, there is no equivalence. There is, but what happened on January 6th, which was an insurrection and incited by the President of the United States.
So you don't agree?
Way to slip in your talking point.
But allowed to just spout out?
Yeah.
You'll condemn those days.
Yeah. Don't you notice that? Nobody else did that this whole thing. Like, this is how Democrats work. There is no fair debate. There is no you speak, I speak, just equal a format, equal medium. No, it's everybody else abides by these rules. But the second I get triggered, I get to jump right in and tell you, and then push my more Trump hate.
Now, in fairness, he probably would have said something if you understood what Pelosi was trying to say. Instead of trying to figure out the puzzle pieces, like, well, it says this, the definition of that. What's going on here?
That's what I'm so glad you bring that up, because as we continue here, I want you to pick up on the fact that, like, whether you agree or disagree, what at least makes for a fruitful, like, educative moment is at least there's something to dissect. Like, you can chew it, digest it, agree or disagree, but at least there's substance there. I'm telling you, I don't want to waste your time with it. I implore you to go watch what she's saying.
Well, actually, do waste your time with it. See it, and then you'll understand. Like, oh, they weren't just gaslighting us.
Yeah,
Pelosi's all over the place. He at least has like okay, I understand what he's talking about. I may not agree with everything he's saying, but I understand. Okay, he's clear, concise, consistent. It just you gotta watch it. 'Cause it's a train wreck onto itself. You just see her just ramble. It's rambling without direction. You know what she's trying to do. Like, I get what you're trying to do. It's nonsensical, really.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the real truth.
My point, though, is that all political movements are susceptible to violence and indeed insurrection. And if we were arguing that fascism was a threat to democracy, I'd be on that side of the house.
Oof.
Indeed, the current populist age is a movement against fascism. I've got quite a lot to get through. Populism, as you know, is the politics of the ordinary people against an elite. Populism is not a threat to democracy. Populism is democracy. And
Yes.
why else have universal suffrage if not to keep elites in check? Ladies and gentlemen, given the success of Trump, and more recently Javier Milei taking a chainsaw to the state behemoth of Argentina's bureaucratic monster, you'd be mistaken for thinking this was a right-wing populist age. But that would be ignoring Occupy Wall Street. That would be ignoring Jeremy Corbyn's for the many, not the few. That would be ignoring Bernie against the billionaires, RFK Jr. against Big Pharma, and more recently, George Galloway against his better judgment. Now, all of them,
That's pretty good.
including Galloway, recognize genuine concerns of ordinary people being otherwise ignored by the establishment. I'm actually rather surprised that our esteemed opposition, Congressman Pelosi, is on that side of the motion. I thought the left was supposed to be anti-elite. I thought that
Until they become elite because they steal insider trading and all of our money and everything else.
the left was supposed to be anti-establishment. Today, particularly in America, the globalist left have become the establishment. I suppose for Ms. Pelosi to have taken this side of the motion, she'd be arguing herself out of a job.
Huh. Ouch.
But it's here in Britain where right and left populists united for the supreme act of democracy, Brexit. Polls have showed the number one reason people voted for Brexit was sovereignty, for more democracy.
And don't you just hate that?
Thank you. What was the response of the Brussels elite? They did
Yeah.
everything in their power to undermine the
British
democratic will of the British people. And the Westminster elite were just as disgraceful. As we've heard, David Cameron called the voters fruitcakes, loonies, and closet racists. The Liberal Democrats did everything they could to overturn a democratic vote. Keir Starmer campaigned for a second referendum. Elites would have had us voting and voting and voting until we voted their way. Indeed, that's what happened in Ireland and in Denmark. Let's Let's look at some of the other populist movements.
Real quick, because I like a point that he's talking about, and he's harping on the fact that they will support the will of the people until it doesn't further their agenda. Do you guys know what the white, like, middle-aged old lady comedian, she has her own show. Oh man,
We got to be more specific than that.
she was out on the Tom Brady roast. She was in the crowd with like Kim Kardashian. Oh man.
All right, you're really not narrowing it down here.
You're really.
Oh
Was she
my
also
God.
on daytime
She
television?
skis naked every year.
Yes.
Um,
She had like her own evening show with
she was
on
she was
Comedy
on E!
Central.
Like Chelsea Handler?
Chelsea Handler. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
God bless it. He's pretending like you weren't picking up my charade game. Chelsea Handler dated 50 Cent. Chelsea Handler's in the news right now because she came out and said she goes, I had to remind 50 Cent that he was a black man and that he wasn't allowed to vote for Trump and what it meant to be a black man. And I'm watching this
Ooh.
take on it. It's like, let that settle in. This is what that party is. This is what the Democrats are. You've got a pretentious white woman who hates nuclear families, that hates having kids. She's a straight up narcissist. And you have her getting to take the moral high ground and tell a black man, I reminded him that he was a black man and what he's supposed to do as such. So again, does that not further his position that this is what these elites do? The second they play these mechanisms against you, and she's not Hillary Clinton, but here's just somebody with this position of superiority reminding you how you're supposed to be. And that's not supposed to indicate that she's racist or looks at you as different, or, she's the problem. No. It's you, Fitty.
Not at all.
Yeah. So
The Hong Konger populist revolt is literally called the pro-democracy movement. The farmer revolts from Netherlands to Germany, France, Greece to Sri Lanka. Farmers are taking their tractors to the road to protest ESG policy that's floated down to us from those all-knowing, infallible elites of Davos. The trucker movement in Canada became anti-elitist when petty tyrant Prime Minister Justin Trudeau froze their bank accounts, not the behavior of a democratic head of state. The Gilets jaunes in France,
here's the thing.
He's gonna keep doing pretty much the
it's
same.
great examples, everything else. But the one I was really, really hoping to get, and again, I'm just gonna read them at this point. Brian, if you want to take the mouse, you can. So a couple of the high key points, he literally says, if President Biden has shown us anything, it's that we don't need someone to run the country.
Oh, there we go.
So one, there's some truth to that. But then he goes on to say, when the president has severe dementia, it's not just America that crumbles. The whole world burns. He says how U.S. corporations spend over $2 billion a year lobbying in D.C. 2/3 of Congress receives funding from pharmaceutical companies. What about big tech? Throughout the pandemic, Biden's team, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security colluded with big tech to censor dissenting voices. People spending. They're crippling the government narratives by trying to get in breach our First Amendment. The sample platform that hosted the Taliban, they thought that Donald Trump crossed the line when he tweeted, "Remain peaceful, no violence," as they have Taliban accounts. You may be thinking Trump should have accepted the 2020's election, and he should have, but so should have Hillary in 2016. So it's just noteworthy that Nancy Pelosi has to hijack the quote and interject herself, one, it speaks to how there's this lack of respect for just peace and order. Just take it. It's like the Antifa way. Like, just take it, burn it down. If I can't have it, no one can. Versus, do you want to be right, or do you want to actually find truth? I mean, that's the question here. Because a perfect example, and I'm going to flip it to the crew, and we can give us your whole spiel, your thoughts on this thing, and wrap it all, because we've gone long. But I'm going to kind of leave it with this. I was in a fraternity, and I loved it because, we weren't the coolest guys trying to kill each other, drinking ourselves to death, but we weren't a bunch of dorks. But it was, what made it such a fascinating experience was you had this room full of men that were policing themselves. And quite literally, that room every Sunday when we would hold chapter was divided perfectly 50-50 like Congress. Like, I didn't pick a side. My nature put me on one. But you always had one half of the room always trying to push the envelope, be cooler, be more extreme. And then you had another half that was trying to be more preserved, be more traditional, play it safe. And there was this contrast, this collision that happened every chapter. And one of the biggest takeaways of human nature that I left that experience with was that people more often than not would rather be right than find the truth or find the right answer. So you'll go, this guy we're trying to give a bid, he's not the right guy because, girls are saying bad things about him. He's got this bad record. His grades aren't good, whatever. But the guy who's friends with him, or the guy that brought him in, the guy that's pitching him, he's not even hearing you. He is not even close to combating or internalizing the criticism. The second there's criticism, they quickly entrench themselves in their position and become automatically defensive. And the whole goal is, rather than listen and be like, because being wrong hurts.
Yeah.
That's why I look at people and I go, there is truth to, there is no such thing as a stupid question. Because if you walk around thinking, I don't know if the sky is blue or if it's orange. It could be blue or it could be orange. And if I'm afraid to ask you what color is the sky, there is no stupid question. That might feel stupid. That's as easy as it gets. But what's worse than that is you not asking the question and you moving on, not knowing what even the basics, the color of the sky is. So to me, the best way to enter any type of discourse is to fight your nature, which is that emotional attachment to your position, and try to take a macroscopic, and this is much easier said than done. You're a human, but you've got to try to take the least biased perspective. Try to find where your bias is guiding yourself or could be polluting it. But the truth is, you're not going to catch it every time. And so knowing that you're a human and that there's going to be instances that you are defending an ignorant position, you need to then know that it is a more proactive exercise than you realize to actually combat this nature, to combat that instinct, to defend ignorance. So I give you the example of how I experienced it, and I find it to be more natural. But my wrapping thought is going to be, you need to fight that. And so when we leave an entire debate where nobody serves me a definition of populism, we're forced to go to the internet, which gives you this vague, you don't know what to believe. There's so many different multi-layered definitions, a political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel that their concerns are discredited by established elite groups, or support for populist politicians or policies, or the quality of appealing to or being aimed at ordinary people. I don't even define it as that. I don't think you should be saying I'm aiming at ordinary people. Like, I just want your run-of-the-mill, scratching his belly loof. No, Like, this is the majority. Populism is what's the most popular, I don't know, will of the people.
Yeah.
That's democracy. Why are we even talking about this? To me, populism is the definition of democracy. But then we start getting political definitions, which are different than just your generic one. And that's how agendas can seep through. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, as far as like a political term, so we go to like populism. What we hear, I think the crux of the debate is it good to start listening to the people, or should we make policies catered around the people? And he gave an example of the 2016 campaign of Trump trying to basically taking that populism role and winning an election with it. And then he gave all sorts of other different examples of it. What we're starting to see with a consolidation of political power, corporate power, business power, military power, we're seeing that consolidating, and you're noticing the power of the ordinary person or someone who's not part of those clubs starting to wither away, or at least in comparison not be as powerful as those other entities. So where I think the foundation of this lies is just a distrust in anything that has power to it. Now, where do we kind of veer off? Do we go, hey, do we want the government to solve the issues, or should we, the people, solve the issues? Then we start going down a rabbit hole of, well, do we want direct democracy? Because that's, boy, the people get what they want, but is that good for everybody? We could argue all day long, probably not. But when we trust representatives to represent us, and they're not representing us, well, what else can we do? We get the guillotines out, and we start trying to fight back. So there is
maybe we bring back the guillotine.
We absolutely could. But I think there is a crux. There is a tipping point to where we are now. Are we going to continue to see this through without fighting for change until it's too late? Or do we want to change it on the back end, like really kind of, make the republic nature of our democracy work for us instead of just go complete revolutions? We've seen after the French Revolution, it didn't get better for the people that revolted. It got worse. So I think that's where they're coming at it here. Is democracy dead when everyone has the equal amount of vote, has the equal amount of say? And that means, well, I don't like the color of your skin, so now you're lesser than these people over here, or you live in this town, so you get better privileges than this person in this town. That's where I think that if I'm going to defend Nancy Pelosi in any sense, I think that's where she's going at. And we see it, and then we see it with the Mumford and Son, one of the sons of Mumford. where he says, hey, if the people had the power, they'd always make the right decision all the time. That's not true. It's just simply not true. So I am, to wrap it up, I am on the side that we need representatives to be able to majority rule, but minority privilege, like the minority keeps their rights. You have to have inbound rights. And that's where I wonder where both of them would be at. It's like, well, if everyone's equal, does everyone get X, Y, and Z rights? And it must be upheld by the government, because that's the other half of it too. The people can only be so powerful. The government is only as powerful as the people allow it to be. And at the same time, the people only listen to the government that has enough power to kind of take down the people. So it's this kind of yin-yang scenario.
You bring up a great point. You want the balance of the people because you want to keep the government or the elites in check. That also being said, the bailiff that does our move outs for evictions every Monday, the stories he comes back with in the domestic lives these people live. Like, you live like that. There was a person that wasn't allowed to have a dog, so they just left their dog in one room, and it was just caked.
Ugh.
Yeah, the whole room caked. The other one, somebody had literally a catfish just living in their bathtub, a giant catfish in their bathtub. So when you hear, and trust me, I'm not trying to gross you out and lose you as a viewer right now, but we could get much worse. And every time he tells me the stories, under my breath, it's just like, everybody votes. Everybody votes. That's what you tell yourself. You're like, but everybody votes, even that guy. Yeah, it is sad and it's gross, the whole thing. And you're just like, and that person votes just like me. It's like, what do we say all the time? Everybody wants a political opinion, but nobody wants to do the political homework. Well, the unfortunate thing is, even those people that don't want to do the political homework and want to be involved, they get to vote too.
Yep.
I don't know. That being said, let's send it over to Ricky. Ricky, rapid thoughts, your whole thought. We're just throwing the whole thing at you.
Okay, the whole thought is I feel like majority should always count. You know what I mean? But
It's a safe bet.
we are good people. We make exceptions for the less fortunate, and that's the good in human nature. That's where we're at right now in the society. So we don't feel like we should leave anybody behind as a society.
It's a
Also,
regular George Bush.
No child left behind.
al- also, baby. Also, the left is like hive mind. If you don't think like them, you're canceled. And I thought that wasn't the left. The left was acceptance of all. Everybody can have their different input and output, but it's just got into one lane where you have to think alike and be alike to be accepted.
I like Sherilyn's point too, where it's all talk. It's all talk.
Yeah.
And Nancy Pelosi shows it. Like David kind of alluded to it, but she walks out, gives a 14-minute speech as somebody who has put a lot of work into being a talker and a debater. To give an improvised speech without a single note in front of you. So she walks up and that guy that we watched that actually had substance, if you notice, he had notes. He kept referring to it. She walks up without a note and she just starts babbling. And so to like Sherilyn's point, they've never had substance. They've never needed to develop substance because they've been able to just throw up a facade and smoke and mirrors for so long that they've got us fooled. And she can confidently walk up there, serve you a spoonful of bullshit, and do it with a smile because it's gotten her. She's a millionaire because of it.
Yeah.
So, like, again, at some point, to Sherilyn's point, we need to demand action. We can't just keep talking about how nothing is occurring. Like, maybe that's why the Second Amendment exists. I don't know. Let's get to Silent Destroyer. What are your whole thoughts on this ordeal?
Yeah, definitely the Second Amendment might need to be put into action very soon because, as we thoroughly discussed very much on this show before, a lot of these Congress people, especially Nancy Pelosi, she needs to be put in check. She's literally insider trading. We've caught her. There's literally a 600K Twitter account, 600K following Twitter account that tracks her trades, and you could track it too and be rich like her if you had the capital. Obviously, none of us have the capital that she does, but on average, like there's solid proof that she's insider trading. She doesn't care. She just wants to get the bag. All of this is, like you said, it's just BS, it's smoke and mirrors. She really doesn't care. She just wants to secure the bag. And what do we have to do for that? Obviously, trying to hold her accountable hasn't worked. Second Amendment. That's what I'm saying.
It's the only place accountability exists anymore.
That's true.
I don't know.
Like, honestly, that's it. Like, there's really no other way. And as David said, like, yes, the Second Amendment, or if we get out the guillotines, yes, it's going to be really bad, and it's probably going to get worse, a lot worse. But guess what? There's only up from there after that.
There's some truth. I mean, that's what guys said in the 1700s, and look where we're at. We got iPhones. I mean, they were made by slaves, but they're not our slaves.
And portals that connect Dublin-New York,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Someone's like, I personally like the way Britain does their parliamentary democracy. Like each area votes for their representative in a different way. It's whoever gets the most. It's an interesting way that they elect their officials.
Wait, so how's it
You're saying
different?
it's not a two-party system.
It's not a two-party system. So you're right. They have like 4 or 5 parties. So whichever party wins the most in their area. I don't know. Like, if we're getting to the point personally where I think two parties isn't going to work. For the
sake of argument, you can't go, it's better, but not know what is better.
Well, no, I'm saying because
saying.
there's
And
multiple
I'm coming
parties.
from a place of ignorance, admittedly. I
No,
don't know what they're doing that makes it better.
It's better
so I'm genuinely
because they have
curious.
multiple parties. And honestly, the only reason I mention that is because we're getting to the point where the two parties aren't really representing everyone, because we're getting to the point where they're arguing within themselves. We've essentially have 4 parties, 5 if you want to count the independents, out there. I don't know. I we're going to talk about government, populace, all this stuff. Someone mentions I don't think direct democracy works. I like the parliamentary style where you have multiple parties and the best party with the most things win, or they form a coalition and they still get shit done.
Yeah, I can appreciate Doug's point, which circles around a lot of what we hint at, which is bipartisanship is what's suffocating us.
Yeah, and I think the illusion of choice between two parties, it doesn't help either, because you get all shades of everything in one side of the party and then all shades of everything on the other side of the party, and there is no. I think to Doug's point here with the way they do it is it's a bit more representing of the ideals you're trying to have. So they have the Green Party, the Environmentalist Party. You'd have in our area, you'd have the Libertarian Party, you would have the Progressive Party. You could still have the Republican and Democrats, but it would be I could at least
you might get more of those other parties in there, at least maybe 1 or 2, but it would probably change things up.
And it's not a winner take all system. It would be a bit more, again, representative. So, because the issue we run into now is one party, control. If you're going to be right, if you're not Democrat, you're Republican, regardless of how you're going to be campaigning. So if you're not officially a Democrat, you have to compete against the Democrats and the Republicans who hold all the power, political power, and the influential power too. You break away the influential power. Now we have less garbage like the drunk driving provision in the 2020 infrastructure package or the TikTok ban.
Right.
Because now you have more voices in the room saying, well, no, that's not what we agreed to. And you're able to hold people more accountable, because instead now the option is, if I'm a religious Christian, I'm not telling my neighbors I'm voting for Joe Biden. I'm going to have to go for whoever the Republican is.
With all that being said, though, if the whole conversation we're having, or the debate that Oxford presents us, is revolving around populism, and Doug's bringing up bipartisanship, you're piggybacking off with other issues within our procedural presentation of our Congress, the fact that if you look at every single one of them, it all revolves around, or it's all one step farther away from direct representation. Like the one, as you were talking, that triggered in my brain was, we need to get back to single issue voting. Another thing that we've said on this podcast plenty of times. And it's I shouldn't be voting for, I don't know, a stimulus package for, starving businesses and families during a world pandemic. And then in there, you're slipping in all these other policies that are nobody even can see or read because it's this deep. You print the whole thing out.
It's either you're pro or against all of it, and there's no line item choosing.
But again, even if you had your representatives doing it direct voting, that still is too close to populist voting for their liking.
Yeah,
right.
I'd say so.
That's why we don't even see it on a congressional level, let alone on a national individual level. I don't know, Doug, Brian, are we trying to wrap, or you got rapid thoughts?
So I really liked the Mumford and Sons dude saying, I thought you would be on the other side, but then again, you would be voting against yourself, and
you'd vote yourself out of a job.
Vote yourself out of a job. All these points seem very valid that you guys had pointed out, and I think that my head is spinning because I have no idea what the definition of populace is.
Yeah, right. Oxford University, the most prestigious university in the world, had one of the most prestigious debates, and you walked away without a single definition of populism. We're debating populism. A plus A, populism, is a threat to B, democracy. And how can we evaluate how A impacts B without knowing what A is? Fascinating. But that's Oxford University, the most prestigious education you could receive. what a perfect time to transition into our final topic here. And it's that everybody's favorite fantasy football kicker, the Chiefs' Harrison Butker, bashes Pride Month and tells women to stay in the kitchen. I just got to appreciate the fact that that's the article title. That's what they take away from this. And they know that triggers an emotion, like it triggers a certain reaction. Before we even dissect the concept that he's presenting, let's get his actual words, what he actually said. Brian, if you could play the video for us. This is him in the Princeton speech presenting to Georgia Tech.
It is only in the past few years that I have grown in courage to speak more boldly and directly, because as I mentioned earlier, I have leaned into my vocation as a husband and father, and as a man. To the gentleman here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities. As men, we set the tone of the culture, and when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in. This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation. Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father rates as we find here in the US, and a correlation could be made in their drastically lower violence rates as well. Be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men. Do hard things. Never settle for what is easy. You might have a talent that you don't necessarily enjoy, but if it glorifies God, maybe you should lean into that over something that you might think suits you better. I speak from experience as an introvert who now finds myself as an amateur public speaker and an entrepreneur, something I never thought I'd be when I received my industrial engineering degree. The road ahead is bright. Things are changing, society is shifting, and people, young and old, are embracing tradition. Not only has it been my vocation that has helped me and those closest to me, but not surprising to many of you, should be my outspoken embrace of the traditional Latin Mass. I've been very vocal in my love and devotion to the TLM and its necessity for our lives. But what I think gets misunderstood is that people who attend the TLM do so out of pride or preference. I can speak to my own experience, but for most people I have come across within these communities, this simply is not true. I do not attend the TLM because I think I am better than others, or for the smells and bells, or even for the love of Latin. I attend the TLM because I believe, just as the God of the Old Testament was pretty particular in how he wanted to be worshiped, the same holds true for us today. It is through the TLM that I encountered order and began to pursue it in my own life.
So, I didn't want to bore you like the last segments. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but I choose this segment of it because what's ironic is the articles written about it ignores the first half of the speech, the opening up part where it tells men, the world's trying to justify an absence of men in the home, that men aren't necessary in a domestic or holistic nuclear family. And there's this immaculate what is it? Maculization. What?
Or
Why did emasculate? That's
emasculization.
Emasculization of men, and he just suggests, they love painting Goggins and Joe Rogan and all these people as like conservative people just because they're telling you be a man and do hard things. So when you go to CNBC and all these other different article heads, when they're talking about Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker bashes Pride Month and tells women to stay in the kitchen, they totally leave out how he opens it with first kind of this poetic exclamation of men, to be men, and that this murder of men is calculated because we're trying to destroy the nuclear family and the bedrock of just individuals in their homes. But what the article highlights is when he goes on to say, I think it is you, the woman, who have had the most diabolic lies told to you. Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this home or into this world. You can't say that. You can't say that. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say her life truly started when she started living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I am on this stage today able to be the man that I am because I have a wife who leans on her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents that God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school who would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking the truth because now, unfortunately, truth is the minority. Not the deadly sins sort of pride. Oh, this is when he goes on to shit on pride. They highlighted this. This is like its own expert. Like, we're going to just totally brush over how he brings up very legitimate points. Like, we do fear truth and we should stand up against it because truth has become the minority. But then they just want to highlight this one little part. It's pride, people. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God-centered pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost to glorify it. But what's interesting is they totally leave out how he's talking about just pride, but in a totally different aspect. And that whole diatribe trying to empower people and give them motivation. Of course, they leave that out because that doesn't further the picture they push. And I want to, when I toss it to you, David, and then the group, I want to also inquire something. It's sad that like I really couldn't be a homesteader today without a second income. That is what our economy has become. And some would say that that's kind of the goal, right? If the goal is to have nannies and random strangers raising your children, and if the biggest threat to what we're doing is a strong domestic home life, well, how do we disrupt that? Well, we make homes so unaffordable that your wife can't even be a homesteader if she wanted to. She's also got to be a CEO because we don't raise moms. We raise CEOs today. So I flip it to you with this. When you have a headline, this damn Chiefs kicker bashes Pride Month, but then also tells women to stay in the kitchen. Like, I get that we spent 30 years and a lot of feminist group dollars on convincing us that like that's like a dig, like that's just cruel. But like, if you looked at me and said, stick with the lawnmower and you know, I don't know, the electrical of the house, I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm feeling victimized by that comment. I would say, yeah, that's actually the responsibility I have here. You provide things, I provide things, and I feel like this using the kitchen as like, because there are women, whether you may be a strong, independent woman that wants to be a CEO, and you're allowed to be the bread maker of your homestead. But just know that there are women that are totally fine and actually prefer being a mother. And unfortunately, what breaks your reality and your statistics is those tend to be the majority. So if the majority of women do prefer this type of lifestyle, where do we get off degrading them and belittling this instinct and feeling that they have, not being ashamed of actually wanting to be a mother? Like, we're using the kitchen as a way of making you feel this big and I spit down on you for having an instinct to wanting to be a mother, because there's this connotation with the kitchen. I'm pretty damn good in the kitchen and I got balls. I love the kitchen. Brian, put yourself on there.
Brian,
do we have a friend that lives in the kitchen more than Brian? Guess what? That makes you a bitch, apparently, to Democrats.
I'd have no problem being a stay-at-home dad. In fact, that'd be my dream.
Let's bring it back.
I would love to be a stay-at-home dad and never have to work.
We're not going to say his name, but we got my neighbor who's a total deadhead and spends all day smoking pot. His wife was a CEO. She made big bank. She lived the big bad dream. And I'm not going to deny it'd be a glorious goal to live in a world where, I'm the one. Yeah, you go make the bread. I'll make dinner
I have no
and clean
problem
the house.
changing
I love that
diapers and
shit.
cooking food. I'm good with that.
Sure, but at the same time, there at least is a concession that for your child and your homestead to be the most fruitful, there is a benefit to a parent, male or female, caring for the homestead and caring for the children. Doesn't matter what's dangling between their legs, but that is how do you prevent your public school teacher from manipulating your children into some sort of agenda and everything else? You have a strong home. My teacher could say whatever bullshit they want to my kid. We're going to have a strong home. Well, then obviously the strong home is the threat. And that seems to be why their crosshairs are on it. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Oh boy, I got a few different things here. So he mentions he starts. So let's start off with a little context on. So this is a commencement speech for a religious school, and obviously this is a lot of preaching to the choir, kind of saying what the beliefs of the schools are. And it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if this particular university college decided that, hey, we're going to have him on here because he says some maybe some controversial things. But in the meantime, you'll search up the university, which I did right. As I was reading this article here, search it up, see what it's all about. Yeah, it's a faith-based school. So I got a couple thoughts here. I'm going to start with the fact that he throws out specifically Old Testament God, not New Testament God, Old Testament God, which is very specific. That's a very specific God. I don't know how many of you are into your religious canon here, but that homeboy is not exactly. He's more of the smiting God. He's the one that's really going to cause some problems in your life if you're not faithful. Versus, I think, what he's trying to elicit. So the Old Testament, the reason why there's a holy day, you're not supposed to work on Sunday, or how the Jewish faith interprets it, Saturday. It's a day of rest. So if we're gonna elicit God on one hand, and that's the reason why I'm successful, and that's why it's a good thing. On the other hand, you're being a little hypocritical. You play all your games on Sunday.
Hypocritical.
That's a big day. Big day for the old Big G upstairs.
Thou shalt not work on the Sabbath.
David's calling out hypocrites. We're talking about the same all-loving, accepting of all different beliefs. We're talking about the same crew of people that walked out on Jerry Seinfeld simply because he's a Jew. That was it. All of it. What was it? Duke walked out on him, right? Because they were standing up for Palestinian rights. It's like, but you're supposed to be the group that's all loving to all people. So not only are you hating this Christian speaker who's got his gods mixed up, according to David's math, but then also you've got.
So that's on the first half, just kind of the religious hypocrisy. We want to. He could use. There's so many other different verses within the New Testament that are a bit more friendly to the the husband and wife being a holy matrimony, coming together, creating a family, making anew with flesh and blood. That's I think really where he should have taken it, and that would have been preaching to the choir, been doing all this. But instead, he kind of goes with, "Hey, woman, you got your degree. You're excited about your next step in the world. Well, let's
throw it away and become a mom."
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it. Not, hey, find your soulmate, find the person who's going to add to your home and make that a bigger home. That should have been the absolute building blocks he would have made the speech off of. But instead, he decides it's kind of like it just kind of comes off as like an incel fantasy fest. Like if you get some weirdo from
throw on DC's comment. Incels. I think there's there's a reality to this. Not only am I trying to highlight this because somebody's trying to agree with me, but what I want to point out is, again, there's David gets to sit here as a successful homeowner with a successful wife, and he has a home. But there also is a truth that there's two of you. And if I need to emphasize an uncomfortable truth, it's I want a home.
Yep.
I think the two other humans that aren't married in here would also like the same. Our parents were making about half as much as us, and they bought a damn good property. And we can't come close to the shittiest property down the road simply because that's how bad the market has become.
Dude, that's like my parents' old house in the same city we live in today. All right, what they bought it for, I'd be able to afford with my current salary. Problem is, it's now worth 3 times as much as they freaking bought it for.
Or even if it's just relation to cost
the
your
house we
salary.
live in today, I could have afforded even at the cost.
Doug, we're talking to the guy that just gentrified the ghetto. Like, he's going to sit here and pretend like, yeah, I got it on the low. We're making it clean and good. It wasn't like that when I got it, but we're getting it there. I remember, like, down the road, there was a guy, he put a flag up that makes him seem like he's not going to kill me.
I do celebrate when I see a single woman running down the road. I'm like, yes, come on, we need more of you.
I need more single women.
All right, we're going to get to the gang in the wings. What are you thinking of evil Harrison Butker? Let's go to Ricky.
I didn't hear anything about pride for real, but other than to have pride.
Right, that's it.
Pride is a sin.
Hold on, Ricky, so we can't articulate it. The little slight that he has is when he brings up pride, he goes, and you must have pride. Not the deadly sins sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God centered around pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost to glorify him.
Well, I feel like this is America. You have the right to believe what you want to believe in and say what you want to say, and you shouldn't cancel anyone because of it or just let them be. If you didn't bring attention to it, no one probably would have known other than that who was in that auditorium that day.
That's a great point.
But you bring a fuss to it. Now more people gonna listen to Harrison Butker. And
I think that's the point. That's why they hired him, because he was going to be a little controversial, maybe say a couple things that kind of go off the rails and get promotion for the school. This is this half cynical take I have is the school wanted this to happen just to promote the school just a little bit more.
Hold on. If we're talking about the school wanting it to happen, Ricky, stay up here. What are your thoughts? Have you seen the Ohio State commencement speech?
Oh my
Let's go to the Ohio State grad. What are your thoughts of this Chinese guy, like doing interpretive dances, saying a whole bunch of babble that makes no sense? Yeah, a sing-along.
So
yoga stretches.
Oh boy! So you can do a Freedom for Information Act on his speech, and someone did that, and he had like bullet points underneath his speeches, like kind of like highlighting who he's trying to go for. There was a part in there, I forget exactly, I think it was right before the crypto part, where underneath it, pause for effect so that the alpha males in the group can self-identify. If that doesn't just make you roll your eyes, it's like a self-identifying alpha male.
I'm going to do a ballerina prance just so those evil alpha males will make themselves known.
It's just odd. The whole thing is weird. It's not very
so
often
how's that any different? You think Ohio State's playing dumb?
Yes, absolutely. They got the okay. All right. So let me defend Ohio State a little bit,
please.
This is all
Someone
internal
has
corruption.
to.
This is all internal corruption.
Leave
here.
it to the Disney adult. Please defend it.
So this guy was very best friends with someone on the Ohio State Board of Trustees. And
there it is.
Through their connections between cryptocurrency, was he able to, you're kind of smart. You can talk about things. How about we just have you do a commencement speech for one of the biggest universities in the world?
Yeah.
No big deal. It's wild. And not just the fall one where no one really pays attention. The spring one. This is the Mac Daddy.
This is
the one
Daddy.
inside the shoe. 100, up to 80,000 people are there. And we get some cryptocurrency kind of wacko goes up there and gets booed. It's not very often.
And not
someone
just
gets
that, too.
booed.
There was a dark edge to that ceremony, too. Some woman fell off the stadium.
Committed suicide. That's
Boo, Ohio State.
Sacrifice.
Boo, Ohio State.
Not great. But, to promote cryptocurrency during it, it's like, Jesus. Read the room, buddy.
She fell off the top of the stands of the horseshoe.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
If you've ever sat at the
That's
top,
not
like I
very
have,
difficult
that
to
is,
do.
Aunt
it
Jane
is-
was
ooh.
trying to get like I'm trying to get a better view of him. I can't see him. She's got a camera, and then just
Oh, no, this was deliberate. Unfortunately,
bro.
she had like a 10-year-old and a husband that were there. Oh, it's off heartbreaking, really.
Where did
Heartbreaking.
mommy go?
Oof.
Holy.
Dive off the deep end.
Yo, dude.
She saw her student loan bill and went,
Deepest
damn.
end of the horseshoe. What is going on, Ricky? What are your rapping thoughts for
Get us out of this. Get
Mr.
us out of
Butker
this.
and Ohio State? I mean, do they know? Do they plan? I don't know.
But I never heard anything of Harrison Buckner for him to be controversial before. Maybe, alumni of the school have him up. So he's just speaking his truth and speaking his life. There's nothing controversial about speaking his truth and his life. And there's a lot of people in this world that wish they can have one parent home for a kid instead of a stranger watching them or leaving them with strangers, because this world is crazier and you don't know who's really watching your kid. Like, you have sick people in this world, and people are getting sicker and sicker. So if I could possibly, me personally, could work and now let's stay at home and I breed the mill up, bro, I'm, home, be comfortable and everything. Sure, I will it. I love it. But that's not reality, and I'm striving for that. I respect what Harrison Buckner says. I think majority of women and men would agree. And if not, I don't know. We need to get back to the nuclear family, as you said as well, because a nuclear family, a nuclear society, builds a great community. Like, it takes a village, bro.
Yeah, boom. I love that point. And what I love the most about Ricky's point, like something that we didn't touch upon yet, is, dude, there's this assumption because it's provocative that this is the dude's nature. Harrison Butker has not been like some champion of conservative points and being a Republican representative. Like, he's just a guy who has won multiple Super Bowls now and is an alumni to then go speak to his school. Like, this is just him speaking his thoughts and opinions, and we're crucifying an American dream. I mean, what is the crux of America beyond the freedom to express yourself and not be crucified when people don't like what you're expressing? And so I love Ricky's point the most in that this hasn't been this dude's nature. He's not some, wild conservative troll on Twitter. He's been a quiet dude, just a real regular guy. Keeps his nose to the grindstone, stays out of trouble, does his job. He's not like, his tweets aren't in the news. He just does his job. He's asked to speak once. And guess what? His speech is pretty much exactly what I'd say. I got a college degree. And guess what? The last thing I need your Nimrod ass is telling me I need to pay for your degree? You're telling me you contracted at 18 years old and made one of the stupid decisions of your life and I got to pay for it? Yeah, I don't hate the guy for going, hey, you're a bit of an idiot. You just sign up for $200,000 to go be a mom. I mean, sincerely, my sister is probably the smartest one in her family. She's a pharmacist. And yet, while she overshadows every person she works with, so male, female, she's the shining light at the VA. She helps vets and she's great at what she does. Unfortunately, for the dynamic of her future family, no matter how much a Democrat in their rainbow cup wants to tell you otherwise, the truth is only one of them gets to have the baby. Only one of them. Not both of them, one of them. And if you built your whole foundational dynamic over the biggest breadwinner having to have a baby at some point and remove themselves from the bakery that brings you bread, I think you made a retarded decision. Usually, it should just instinctively be the one that kind of has to do it.
Yeah, I think reducing women though to like he really,
is it reducing women? God did that. That's life. Like reducing women to doing one of the most amazing miracles in life is make other life. Like again, to champion your position, you need to belittle how amazing it is guess what? I'm very successful and probably more successful than you. That means my mom did her job better than your mom. That's how great or how important of a vocation, taking Harrison Butker's word. That's how important of a vocation it is. It doesn't matter. Guess what? Steve Jobs built Apple and gave his kids the most expensive yachts that they can travel the world in. And yet they're still better off with mom. It doesn't matter how much money dad makes. They're still better off with mom. That's how the entire court system is built that way, for better or for worse. Definitely there's worse, but for better or for worse, that's the system. And its policy is only based on the fact that instinctively in the game of averages, you're still better off with your mom over anyone else. And it's the nurturing aspect. There's a nature. I don't have empathy the way. How about this?
All right.
Do you know why there are studies that show that oftentimes women are worse at driving? It's because they don't actually have the depth perception. They don't really like, to us, most men, like, the extension of the car becomes an extension of them. Like, I can feel the end of the hood. I have total space awareness, and it all comes down to spatial awareness, and that women don't tend, and I'm just speaking, I'm not saying in speaking in universalities, this is just in basic averages, what the science shows, but it shows that, there's this spatial awareness that they don't have as much as men do. But also, men fail to have nurturing characteristics, empathy, encouraging, strength building characteristics that uplift the people around them, that take care of them. But that's because everybody has roles. And I'm not trying to belittle my neighbor where I said it was a male household. He stayed home and she went and made the bread. This is modern family. It can look in its own way. It doesn't have to be some concrete way. But we need to stray away from have a nanny raise my kid, the teachers will do the rest, and the two of us will make it big, because then we get an infinity pool. Sometimes your kid being the most well-mannered, the most exciting to be around in the lunchroom, the most, the average person to play kickball and stuff with, like, that type of thing, that's so much more valuable than the infinity pool. And because we're so materialistic and so Instagram driven, that, like, you are forced to take the position that encouraging because you're not going to be the homestead. You've got the balls. So you're like, well, you're not going to ask me to do it. So how could you ask my wife to do it? No, all I'm advocating for is you can tuck it between your legs, but somebody needs to be taking care of the family that isn't just a nanny or a stranger. And yeah, you can rope your grandparents in, but it just isn't the same.
He doesn't use the term strong wife, strong mother. He very specifically uses the term homemaker. And he says his wife's life did not begin until she was a homemaker, not starting a family. It's like, hey, your true life didn't begin when you started our family. Okay,
wait, but is our goal not a home?
A homemaker. It's a very specific term.
I want a person to make a home.
Homemaker. Because the insinuation is your life didn't begin until you kind of just let me do my thing and then stayed at home and raised children. It just kind of really, it just reduces down the ability to go, this is what I value in a woman, when yet you can value that in a woman, but to go up there to stand in front of graduating seniors to go, this is the value. He's in a position of power. He's a millionaire. He's done a lot of great things in his career, but then just to go and to say that, not say, hey, build a strong family, build a strong foundation for your life, be the best person you can be, whether that be a wife, a mother, a homemaker. It is specifically and only homemaker. Not all the above, only. And that's really what my issue is. Because then we use and then we kind of use the religious aspect as the justification of why that's the important part of why he's saying this, when he's really I don't think he really understands the religion as much as he think he does. He doesn't. I think some of the scriptures really are not conducive to just his job in general on the day of the Sabbath. Let's just go there. But then he goes Old Testament. It's like, ooh, he's an Old Testament type of person. There's a reason they don't teach the Old Testament in Bible school a whole lot, because that God's not very friendly to differing opinions. He took Moses out of heaven. Hey, Moses, you're not going to heaven because you cracked the 10 Commandments. There's several different stories we can go down. He flooded the world but again, let's bring us back to kind of at least what he said. My issues with it. It is a reduction, not an addition. Not, hey, you should be proud you can do this. Is I only value because you are this, and that's where my problem lies within the speech.
Cut to the Waterboy clip. Home is where you make it. You like to see homos naked? No, home is where you make it. You're saying you like to see homos naked. No. So I do want to get to Sherilyn's point. She raised how not all women are nurturing. And if David's attack is going to be the word homemaker, I'm doubling down on Mr. Butker. That is what is a wife? What is a mother beyond a homemaker? It's just a title. What you don't like, you're not my property. I'm a man. You're not my property. So what's a wife besides the title of being mine? No. You want to be a homemaker. What's a mother beyond being the caretaker of this child? No, the thing that makes the title of mom, the title of wife, anything worth carrying is being able to also deliver on the most important aspect, which is a nurturing full home. So when Sherilyn brings up how not all women are nurturing, that doesn't negate from the fact that that's still the goal. That's what we strive for. If you're going to say not all basketball players score 30 points in a game, not all of them are good. And also some of them suck and should be cut. That doesn't mean that striving for what we're trying to define as a good basketball player. So when you say the person that sucks as a good basketball player, well, again, it doesn't make them a basketball player. So this person, if not all women are nurturing or carry these characteristics, I agree. But obviously something happened in their life, that something has in their development, who they are, that never developed that. Guess what? There's also men that carry those same characteristics, that can be nurturing, that can be caring.
I don't think there's anything negative about being nurturing.
No. But what her position is that there's people that don't possess that characteristic. And so I can't speak in universalities about women when not all women hold that characteristic. But that means that there are people that don't meet the goal, that don't meet the mark. That's with any type of dialogue. So I don't think it negates the point that should be something we strive for, that we look for. We have gone on a long time without getting to our good friend in the wing. He's just been sitting there broiling. Silent Destroyer,
I'm just boiling, like listening to you guys discuss
silently destroy them.
This is a very interesting topic, right? Because you can clearly see the professional NFL player that is talking this. Obviously, it's his First Amendment right. He's allowed to say whatever the hell he wants, right? At the end of the day, let's make that very clear, right? He is speaking from a place of ultimate privilege, right? Because in reality, like you said before, Alex, most men can't just go out and be the breadwinner while the wife stays at home and watches the kids. Like, that's not a reality for us anymore, We as men need to step up like a lot more in order to achieve that. Like, we have to basically be making multiple six figures if we want our wife to stay at home.
Exactly.
Right? And then you have the other side of it. It's like, you can see, I guess, irritation or frustration that he brings up, and he's trying to like sort of attack women or like belittle them as they say. But the reality is women are just stepping up too, and that's what it is. Like, they're getting more educated, they're moving up on the world. They don't really need men, Let's be real for 10 seconds. A lot of them don't anymore. That's why they're not getting married. That's why they don't have kids. they're just out here being boss babes and shit.
Well,
which is
I don't know
completely fine,
about
by the way.
that. I wouldn't get too far
Which
down
is-
that line. I mean,
Like, you're
at
painting
some
too
point,
broad of a brush on that
you
one.
can walk down the street because men have died for
Of
your
course.
ability to do so.
Of course.
Like, again,
Right, but
if
but I'm
I
saying-
keep being told it's not safe, like I can't safely walk down the street. Why? Because a man would do something bad to you. Well, we also look to other men for protection in those instances. So I'm not
Right.
also going to look to a strong, independent woman when I don't feel safe on the road.
Well, I mean,
Well,
this comes back to the whole bear.
comment is Selective Service Act. Women still don't have to be a part of
the draft.
That is true.
Of the
And they,
draft, yeah,
you know,
true.
and they don't want to be.
But
Yet they
Equality
want,
to a
we
certain
all
degree.
want equality, yet that would be true equality. If men have to go fight a war, dude.
But that's
18 years
why
old,
my point is what it is. You can't sit here and say they don't even need us anymore. And it's like, but you do.
right,
But you do because there's
but-
only one of us on the draft.
Right, but that's what I'm trying to get at, right?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get at is the reality is we need each other.
Yes,
we are
thank you.
teams. We need to build families together. It's not just the man, not just the woman, right? Like we need to build our families together. We need to build society. Like Ricky said, it takes a village, right? So at the end of the day, I think it's really important to kind of like not kind of look at this so black and white, and so just like fit it into the stereotypical gender roles or whatever.
Yes.
Because like you said, like your dad and my dad, they could just go bag groceries for 3 years and they could afford a house,
Right.
It was literally that easy to be a breadwinner, like the reality is nowadays, like you can't do that because our economy is just like, that's just not the way things work anymore. So that's just why it's really important.
Yo, I got so distracted by DC's comment. I need David to open a new jar of pickles. He's calling you a soy boy. He's calling you a soy boy.
We got any pickle jars around here? I'll show DC.
We will have a new jar of pickles on the next episode.
Crack it open just to prove I can do it.
Just to prove it.
I didn't mean to derail your comment. I just got so distracted by that.
Called
It's
out
fine.
here. Jesus. My
David's
God.
gonna have to get down and give us 20, before the show starts.
Here, while we got Silent Destroyer up, I want Brian. Can you pull up Cheryl Lynn's comment where she makes the point how find someone that's your balance. I mean, I think a lot of my point comes off jaded because I'm making comments that feel absolute. And I want to double back down on the neighbors next to us successfully raised a functioning member of society just as much as my parents did. And they were the exact inverse. And that balance can it doesn't have to be so opposite. A total male in a female's role, it doesn't have to be exact. It can have, dad does some of the things, does some of the cooking and cleaning, and mom makes some of the money. Like it can have its balance. But I really do appreciate Sherilyn's point because I think it highlights where I failed to articulate exactly what I'm trying to say. It comes off more divisional than I'm looking for. The truth is you just need a balance, and we're all different. DC, my guy, I can open a jar of pickles. David needs a wife to do that. That's fine. But that's how we balance each other. She gets the pickles. David folds the underwear. Everybody's got something to do at home, and the homemaking is complete.
It takes a village.
Exactly.
It's not just one person that does all the homemaking.
Exactly.
We've learned this is a team.
Let's admit one thing. There are plenty of gay families out here that are doing just as well, if not better, than the average American family that is your stereotypical dynamic. So it is a modern family. It can present itself in any certain type of way, but to negate the fact that this balance is necessary and we both can be CEOs, that's so unrealistic. That's so unrealistic that we were looking at males and females in that same college graduation class and going, you all get to be CEOs. Oprah's giving them all a car and a CEO job. there's only one, folks, of every corporation. So I don't know. To me, I feel like we're selling a fool's dream that's breaking and dividing. It takes a village. It's breaking and dividing the nucleus and foundation that we rely upon. I don't know. Anybody got anything last bit? Doug?
Doug?
All right, we got to flip it to Brian for wrapping thoughts and close this bad boy out.
So, I do want to be working in the kitchen. I want to be doing the stuff
Yeah,
around
he
the
does.
house.
He means that when he says it.
If I had a bread maker, I wouldn't be too opposed to it.
I agree,
Even
Brian.
if we had like a 60-40 deal where, you're making a lot more than me and I'm home a lot more doing them stuff, I'm cool with that, taking care of the kids, whatever. So, I'm single. What's up?
Dirty diapers
How's it
don't
going out
scare
there,
me.
I can appreciate that we can have both. We can have both. So that all being said, guys, hey, Sherilyn is cheering you on, Brian.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you for joining us. Reminding you, the whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. So, like Sherilyn and DC, Nalette, and the rest, the whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. We want to have a positive impact on the dialogue, keep us honest, and keep it truthful. And the best way to do that is keep it balanced with you. We want the audience involvement. So, again, thank you for everybody that joined us this week. We do this live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Brian and I also have a live show. You can find us on Rethink Actions Sundays at 9 a.m. And this is so less provocative. Just have a cup of coffee with us in the morning, have a couple laughs. We just react to the craziness that is the videos of the internet. And again, it's nothing but entertaining. But we have so much coming at you. We've got the podcast itself, new episodes coming here soon, Rethink Solutions. So here's where I'm at. All these shows, everything can be found at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. So when the time hits to go live with all our good friends and you're scrambling to find out where to find the show, you could find it in one central place, which is the website. But Brian, before we close, we gotta bring in our crew in the wing. Let's first bring in our good friend and our special guest, Ricky Ricardo. Ricardo, right, where can they find you, my friend?
Just Another Day TV anywhere. And y'all, if y'all love the show, man, send a voice message to me on Instagram at The Right Way or Just Another Day TV. I send them to Alex. He vet them. If he likes them, you may hear your voice on the show. Thank y'all for joining. Have a blessed
Get your
week.
questions.
Safe.
Get anything. Have your input on the show. I love that, Ricky.
Yeah.
And don't miss Just Another Day TV. There was new content that just came out, so please be sure to catch it. But we couldn't have done it without our other good friend and our special guest, Silent Destroyer. Tell them where they can find you.
Thank you guys for having me. As always, I am live every single day, kick.com/Silent Destroyer. Appreciate you guys having me.
Much love, much love. And again, I want to say much appreciation to the folks in the comments that kept this show lively and kept us honest. We got Doug in the wing over there. There's no pickle gallery without our good friend Doug. David, thank you for joining us. But guys, like I said, we go live every Tuesday, so don't miss us. But otherwise, guys, we'll catch you next week. Peace.